Welcome, everybody, to Generation Dan, the podcast hosted by 3 ages of Santa, it looks like. Welcome to Generation Dan, the podcast of generational differences. I'm Atlas Novak. I'm your millennial. Who else is with me?
I am Dino the Genetic Marvel, and for once, I am not the oldest person on here. Aha! Look at that. Now I'm a young guy.
Ouch. Our guest today is Steven Allan Green.
Former guest. I'm not going to...
He just leaves 30 seconds in. Like,
oh, I didn't come here for this shit.
Actually, I did. All right, carry on with your introduction.
No, Steven Allan Green is a comedian from LA whose name is on the side of the Comedy Store. You will show respect. God damn it.
No, that's
only because I changed my name to Parking Right Arrow.
That's the key. Listen, you got to work with what you got, right? That's only fair.
Carry on with the introduction. I need this.
No, that was it. That was it.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
He's on a wall.
My name's on a building.
This is what he's thinking. He's
I don't know. I met you 4 days ago.
And I still can't shake it.
It just seems like a big deal.
One of Carol Newell's gigs at the Universal Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
That I promised I would never go back to that venue. It wasn't the venue's fault, but 2 years ago, coming up on 3 years this February, I had a terrible experience. We make there at a comedy night. I don't want to talk about it right now. But,
okay.
So I promise. Right. But I love Carol. I love what she does, and you came up to me, and I'll never forget what you said. You said, Steven, you're the greatest comedian I've ever seen. Compared to you, I have no talent. And then I said to you, who are you? What is this about? Well, you want to borrow some money?
That's exactly what he was going for. 100%.
Yes, person I just met. I would like to borrow some money.
That would make it a lot easier for people. Rather than now Bob wants to borrow money. He's calling on the phone. I got to listen to his fucking story. How he's going to pay me back? And
honestly, I find that when they come up, they're like, "Oh, can I tell you a story?" And I'm like, "Bro, here's $5. Just leave me alone."
Yeah, right.
Take them. I don't want to have this interaction. I'll just give you the money.
It's like a modern day Danegeld. That's
modern day what?
So a Danegeld back in the Viking times was a bribe for the people sacking your town to fuck off. Yeah. It's literally that meme where it's here's 3,000 pounds of silver to fuck off. Get out of my life. Don't come back.
Wow, I feel like that's a useful skill set. It's hey, I am the liaison between the criminals and the good people, and I figure out payment. I get a little skim off the top, and everybody's happier, and nobody's destroyed. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a good gig.
And speaking of the liaison between the normal people and the criminals, Santa.
Yes.
The biggest criminal of them all.
Yes. He only came once a year, but when he came to destroy.
He only comes once a year, and he only likes Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when he's useful. Fuck him the rest of the time.
Yeah,
fuck Santa, man. Santa's a fake.
Because you have any cash on me, which is a lot. Bro, do you have any change? Yes, I do. Can I have some? No, you cannot.
Yeah.
That is a completely reasonable conversation.
I am still waiting for the day a homeless person has Venmo, because I'll be fucked. Because I almost never carry cash on me.
You can just say no.
Just say no, but I mean, I'll be so
No, don't.
Right? Hey, man, got a change on you? No, I don't. And then if he goes, I have Venmo, you're like.
I think there should be. I always thought there should be some sort of homeless app. I wanted to give change. In the old days, everyone had change, quarters, you want the pennies. Great. I can get rid of the pennies, No one liked pennies.
Now it's all for Coinstar.
Yeah.
They're like, we can go to the ATM. Bro.
Something like that.
I can't, I'm like, at the same time, like there's been a few scams in Toronto where they've revealed that people were like begging on the street, but they also had like a nice apartment and a car, and they would just beg for in a popular area, so people would just give them money. And
I mean, like, is that any different from busting? Like,
we live in a weird world. Okay, our world is broken. Like, how good can you pretend to be homeless?
But also, people your age and Steven's age and my parents' age are just doing weed in the everyday, and it's not like, oh, we gotta do it in the back room at a party. It's like, I'm going to the dispensary. Can I pick you up anything? And that's what I love about the 21st century.
I mean, you know what? That isn't a bad thing. Like, I know I've smoked oregano at least 3 times in my life. And I'm cool, but I'm like, I'm still come across as a white guy. So
yeah, that's why I got fired from the Italian restaurant.
Everybody's gonna have a good time. Not one person begging on the street is using the money for good purposes. Like, Joey.
I know.
You look like a homeless person.
We all look like homeless people. None of us look normal.
You know what? Only once in my life have I made the mistake of shaving my beard during the winter, and I was like, never again. No, it's horrible. The 21st century, the weed is cheap and the women are cheaper. I mean, batting 1,000 there, Joey. Like, it's just your time to shine.
So what are we talking about? I've got seriously, where are we at?
That's a great question.
The correct age to tell your kids that Santa isn't real. And for the 7-year-old who got a hold of your dad's phone and is listening to this, he's not real. Sorry.
So there's a correct. So wait a minute. We're first. Okay, so I'm trying to understand something here. Are we presupposing that
there's a wrong age?
No, that was presupposing what I was going to say, what I was going to ask you. I just took a pause because I was trying to get the right words. Are we pre-proposing that children won't figure this out on their own?
I don't think they would figure out in time to not get a complex about it.
You either get told by one of your friends who either figured it out on their own or older sibling, right? That happens a lot. Mm-hmm. Santa's not real, dummy, or like whatever.
Yeah, it's used as a weapon. Little brother thought there was Santa.
So like you usually get it through your schoolmates. I figured it out when I was 10, I think 9 or 10.
I was 10 when my friend Mark told me. Yeah, I remember.
It
destroyed my world.
I was doing the thing where, when you're like, oh, I want to like find the Christmas presents before or whatever. Like, so you're like looking around the house, and then I found like a stash of whatever was being given to me, and then wrapped it back up, left it there, and then on Christmas it said from Santa, and I was like, oh, okay, he's not real. And then that was it. That wasn't really like devastating. You said it destroyed your world.
Well, okay, I'll answer that secondly. I want to address this point you just made, was that my father at the time was an executive with Hasbro Toys. So he would go on long business trips, because I think he had girlfriends. And
like a gentleman, that's fine.
Like a man with toys. Sorry, I just ruined it, didn't I?
New from Hasbro, the vibrator.
I mean, it was only a matter of time that was going to happen.
No, I mean, I think I caught him, putting the present, wrapping it, putting it in the tree, or whatever. And I think at the time, I believe what my parents told me. I was like, Dad, what are you wrapping? Why are we waiting for Santa? He goes, oh, well, Santa called me and he was busy, so I'm doing this for him. Okay. Or, there was some kind of logic. But going back to your point, why it destroyed my world, it's an interesting thing, considering the novel I'm trying to finish, to write, not to read, is when my first friend in life was Mark Youth, Huth, Youth, and his father was a famous actor, David McLean, who was the Marlboro Man, the original Marlboro Man, and not so ironically died of lung cancer. But anyway, Mark told me when I was in Beverly Vista Elementary School in Beverly Hills, I was 10 years old. I was born in '56, so it must have been 10, maybe it was younger. But anyway, I remember I probably said something like, what is Santa? What are you hoping Santa will bring you? And he said, he didn't mean this in a mean way. He said, you still believe that Santa's real? And that, I think, was the beginning of realizing there's going to be a long trek to adulthood. It was like, oh shit. I thought being a kid, I thought life, because I was a kid, I thought life was all this fantasy stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, we had in Beverly Hills, and we weren't rich. Back then, it was a middle class income to get a nice house that's now like $3 million between Wilshire and Olympic. And my parents wanted their kids to have the best education system in the country, which was Beverly Hills at the time. So there was a Thrifties, which is a drugstore built in the 1920s. And, it was, you go in and you get, everything from, Band-Aids to candy. And in the back, they had a little counter, old fashioned 1950s type of counter where you sit at a stool and you'd order a hamburger and milkshake, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Behind this particular counter was a 2-foot platform, because all the employees that worked as waiters and waitresses and cooks were former Munchkin actors.
Oh.
Did you the fuck not? And by the way, can I say fuck?
Yeah.
I don't want to many cunts out there with my language.
Okay, so Munchkin actors at the back of this pharmacy.
That was the British version of the word, meaning dudes. Major. So to me, in the world that I grew up in, with parents who were involved in showbiz from before they came out to Hollywood, to growing up in this incubator of Beverly Hills, where there was, you go to your best friend's house and his parent would come in with milk and cookies and it was a movie star, to seeing them movie stars shop at the pet store, to going to Thrifties and being served Munchkins, being served Munchkins, to a kid sitting next to you in class who had to leave early to go star in a TV series. I think it was Mickey Dolenz from Circus Boy, who later was in the Monkees, but was the Monkees. But I'm saying when I was told in such a way that made me feel stupid, like you still think Santa exists, which can have two meanings, like he existed, now he doesn't, but you still think that. It devastated me.
Yeah. Well, because it's like the first crack in that perfect world.
Right.
So it's, man.
Listen. And then, like, for some kids in some families, they just don't do the Santa thing. Like it was just never.
I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. We didn't have anything.
I was raised as a Jew. We celebrated Hanukkah and had a Christmas tree. I'm not kidding.
Me too. Yeah, we did. My cousin always called us cashews because it was like Catholic plus Jew.
What's the word?
Cashew, like the nut.
Cashew. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
Catholic
fine.
plus Jew. Cashew.
That's
that works.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah. Shout out to Charlotte for that.
No, my parents were always like, "Oh, if you want something, work hard and you'll get it for you." Okay, work hard. They got it for me. No big deal.
Yeah.
People were like, "Oh, there's Christmas." I'm like, I don't really care. It's just an opportunity for us to all stay at home and have dinner together.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't naive. I knew that, especially growing up in showbiz, where that it's all puppeteering and it's not magic. It's illusion. And there was a magic shop that sold magic, and my older brother, was a magician. I was his assistant, and we got bought these tricks and so it was kind of like I learned very early on about fooling people.
Yeah.
And then of course there's, later, flash forward several decades, and I went from being, rich and having a home in London and New York and LA to couch surfing homeless. And there's the famous story of that I had just when I was interviewed by Canvas magazine or whatever they're called .com. I'm doing this. This is a fake cigarette on a holder. I'm mocking those fake celebrities. Well, when I was interviewed, by Federico Fellini and asked me what I thought of 8.5, well, this is what I said. But what was I talking about?
When you were interviewed by Canvas.com or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. So, all right. So coming back from England, I mean, I would always come back every few months, but having lost everything in England and to come back, take care of my mother who was ill, I was in love with a woman who wasn't my mother. How strange. And there was this film about me and Jerry Lewis in London. It was happening with an Oscar-winning producer pushing it, and all this crazy shit that was going down.
Wait, what was the name of the movie?
I Eat People Like You for Breakfast. It hasn't been made yet, but there's renewed interest. It's about what happened with Jerry Lewis and myself in London. So, which you may not know about, but it's a whole, I can tell you 2 seconds or several hours. But anyway, I started missing London. Yeah. And so I just started talking British, and I was having difficulty logically dealing with people because I was so Britishized that I was polite. And this happened in New York. I was living in New York and I went to London. Came back 5 months later. I'm getting into a taxi cab and I didn't see that there was someone already in it getting out. And I went, "Oh, sorry." And, not even in a British accent. I went, "Oh, sorry." And guy gets out and goes, "Hey, what are you fucking sorry for? I should beat your head in," that kind of thing. "I'll show you sorry." Mm-hmm. Or when I'd say please for something, "Can I please have a cup of," no, in England, you say the word please at the end of the sentence. So you're at the Starbucks. Yes. Can I get a cafe, a grande latte, please? You say please at the end. Americans were taking that as being pushy or sarcastic. And I was in a very confused time. I couldn't understand how America worked. I had health care given me by the government in England. I no longer had health care here. It took me a while to realize that people drive on the right side of the road, so be careful when you cross. It was all those things, but also just communicating in a British way that I wasn't even aware I was doing. So anyway, so I started this British character, and I'd go into Starbucks and go, "Excuse me, can you tell me where I might find the Starbucks Executive Lounge?" Starbucks Executive Lounge? Yes, for the million cup drinkers. So anyway, so several years ago, here's the story. Several years ago, I needed a place to stay. I was a place where I was staying for a few months. Stopped. I had no money, no income. I just, I don't even know if I had a car. I had a backpack. And no, I did have a car. So I went, I had like $5 to my name. And I just had gotten into a system of people helping me and me trying to get writing work when I could. And it was a matter of really true survival of, where am I going to stay? How am I going to do this? And at the same time, not just give up completely in life. So it was about midnight. I went to the Improv, to the lab, and I sat at the bar and I bought a Diet Coke with my $5. And the television's on and they're showing the Showtime documentary, The Comedy Store, where I'm from. And there was this guy who was standing up shouting, "Yeah, see, it was Comedy Store comics who burned down the Improv." And I go, "Oh." So I didn't want to get into a confrontation. I didn't want to reveal myself as a Comedy Store guy.
Yeah.
So I said, "Excuse me, but when you say Comedy Store, do you mean the one in Piccadilly? Because it's moved to Leicester Square now." Because there is a London Comedy Store. I played it, right?
Yeah.
And so he came over and he's like, No, the Comedy Store. It's a Comedy Store here. And we sat down and we started talking about comedy and comparing British comedy with American comedy. And I pretended I knew nothing about American comedy. He would say something like, for example, George Carlin. I went, "George who?" "George Carlin." So we're chatting, we're having fun, we're laughing. He's a very smart guy. He's a writer. When the bar closes, he invites me to his place where a bunch of his friends are coming over to drink. So I stayed in character the whole time. And they're like, this is my friend. I don't know if you used my name or my character's name. I think.
What was your character's name?
Nigel Harrison. Which is Nigel Harrison, Nigel P. Harrison, capitalist, crypto capitalist, and paranaut normalist and theatre critical from the London fog, who perished in a horrific biplane accident just outside of Dusseldorf in 1939.
Yes.
That was my character.
And he's got red hair and a mustache, and he's voiced.
Well, he's not. No, he's not Scottish.
No.
No offense, he's not Scottish.
No, he's doing
very proper.
Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberries.
Oh, I see. I'm an illiterate. Is that what you're saying? Here's what happened. The punchline is
generations.
I partied with these people, and then everyone left, and he asked me. I was like, "Well, I should be calling my chauffeur to pick me up." No, you want to just crash it? All right, maybe. Can I? Okay. Next morning, the place was a mess. He was asleep. I cleaned it up. I made breakfast. I brought it to him, and I went, Barry, I took the liberty of making breakfast. Please wake up if you're hungry. And then for the next 3 weeks, I stayed in character, cleaned his place, fed him, talked with him, advised him. And of course, when the phone would ring, yes, Barry. No, Barry, hang on 1 second. Yeah, hey, what's up? May I ring you later? So one day, I couldn't take it anymore. And one day I sat him down and I said, I got some news to tell you. And I revealed who I was, and we had a big laugh. But you look, Atlas, are you okay? I lost
Fine.
Atlas.
Why?
Wild story.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's insane. It's
off subject, but it's insane, but it's what I did to survive. Let's go back to the subject. Your show, I've taken over. I'm sorry.
No, are you kidding me? The fact that you're like, I just became a guy's butler because I spoke British and we were just hanging out. So like that's
why not?
I mean, also too, who doesn't want a butler? You're like, I got a British one. You're like,
well, I think coolest. Because we're talking about Santa Claus, and it's all about pretending. And there's pretending. There's two types of pretending. The way I see it is like you're pretending. You're going to a masquerade party. You're going to a Halloween party. You're putting on Frankenstein makeup, and you're walking around and go, "Where's the Doritos?" But there's the other kind of pretending, which I think is a fucking psychosis out there in the world, which is that you're pretending, but you don't know you're pretending.
Oh, no question with that. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things, especially now, where people just lack identity at all. And they're like, oh, well, I do this for work. And you're like, that's not a thing. That's not a person. That's a job. And they're like, well, then now I'm gay. And you're like, that's also a sexuality. Still not a personality. Let's just try and.
It's like, this is why it's important when getting to know people, to not ask, what do you do? To ask them, what do you like to do? Yeah. And most of the time,
that sounds like a sexual invitation. I'm not joking.
100%. And Alice also does like a little, hey, so what do you like?
What do you like to do?
Yeah.
But I hear you, Alice, because you're a friendly guy and an open guy, and that's why I'm on your show. I think. By the way, I got to tell you, and I've written and complained about this, and it's just I tend to remember the worst examples of some experience, and that becomes the banner for it. And so when someone really nice and professional and intelligent, introduces themselves to me and invites me to be on their show, I'm very not just flattered. It's not about my ego. It's reaffirming. So thank you for having me here. By the way, hilarious. I need a couch for tonight.
My couch is not like, we're roughly. How tall are you? I don't think I ever saw you standing up. We were sitting.
Yeah, I don't know. A couple of years ago I was 5'10". Now I think I'm below 4 feet.
Okay, so you might fit then, because like my couch is too short for me. I gotta do.
Listen, I figured out how to sleep on all kinds of couches.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, couches are a great place to sleep. I don't need a bed. I like couches. You ever sleep on a couch?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Right. I have made Katie mad several times, and have had to sleep on the couch.
Oh, I use the C word, and your wife watches the show. I'm so sorry, Katie.
Well, she's not.
Oh no. She doesn't watch the show. No, my wife is watching, and she's like, "You tell him."
Yeah. No, Victoria does. Katie doesn't. And then so recently, I got one of those like Japanese fold-up futons that yeah, and do that instead of the couch. So much better.
Yeah, I mean,
you tell
him. You tell him.
You tell him. I had an Uber passenger a few weeks ago who, we get in a conversation, and he sells. I took him up to like a very rich area of the hills,
Mhm.
and it's like, what do you do? What do you do? It's sort of like, what do you do? I told him about my comedy,
Yeah.
and and he sells beds. So I thought, okay, he's got a big warehouse. No, he sells beds made of horsehair.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard of
That start. Get this, at $100,000.
it. Which is
Wow.
insane.
And I said, why would anyone pay $100,000 for a mattress? And he says, because sleep is 1/3 of your life, and it vastly affects the rest of the 2/3. And I'm like,
Yeah, but
wow, I just realized
$100,000.
He's not wrong, but also fuck that guy. Like, let's be honest.
and he didn't fucking tip. I'll tell you that. That pissed me
Oh,
off.
what a piece of
Fuck
shit!
that guy. Yeah.
Oh, you know
Also,
what?
Fuck him.
That's the problem. Like, listen, we need a better quality of rich person. Okay, there was a time in these countries where it's like, no, the rich gave. You know why? Because that's how they stayed rich, by knowing that they would share their wealth. And now they're all holding back.
Rich people used to give because they knew, like, okay, in the Gilded Age, you had rich people having their factory workers getting fingers cut off and having rat shit in the meat and all that stuff, and then people like Upton Sinclair and all of the like left wing organizing and things like that scared them enough to where they're like, okay, we'll do just enough to where you won't kill us. And then
it's called the American way, sir.
Yeah, enough time has passed where people forget, and then they're starting to be shitty again, and we're back in like a second Gilded Age.
Well, I think part of that is, I mean, of course, I lived in England where there still is a great class divide.
Huge,
there's royalty, and but I think what I'm realizing, and maybe you guys, I would like to hear what you guys think of this. Obviously, we're talking here. Is that, with the exception of the Rockefellers or the Vanderbilts,
yes,
who basically, it was a business based on inherited wealth.
Yeah.
At a time when there was no income tax, so they could build those incredible Gatsby-like mansions with no income tax, no labor laws, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And but for the most part, it seemed at the turn of the century, i.e., the 1900s, the early 1900, that people were able to build themselves up from the ground up. They could be working in a gold mine as with a guy with a pick, 10, 12 hours a day, be making pittance. And then, they somehow get around restrictions and they decide to go on their own, and they become prospectors and they find money, or they invent something.
Yeah.
They come up with some kind of medicinal cure or something like, Listerine, or they start a food business or something. There was a time in this country when we were growing from cottage little businesses that could grow. Mm-hmm. And so they had to work their way up slowly. They saw every part of the business building story, from working to raising a little money to doing a corner store that ran for 20 years and then expanding it. And I think in today's Gilded Age, it's overnight billionaires.
Yeah.
Who both of them have pirated, both of them being Zuckerberg and Musk, pirated other businesses by purchasing them and or mimicking them. Mm-hmm. And so we live in a get rich overnight. And so I think the class divides. So people who become very wealthy overnight, literally, I don't. For some reason, they can't remember yesterday when they couldn't afford a grande latte at Starbucks.
Yeah. Well,
in the case of Musk, his dad owned an apartheid emerald mine. It wasn't get rich overnight. It was just he was rich, and then he was visibly rich, versus invisibly rich.
That's right.
Look, but there's a whole
the celebrity rich. I'm sorry, go on, Dino.
Yeah, but there's a whole section of the world that doesn't have to tell you. They don't disclose their wealth, right? There are numerous countries and nations and families that just have unlimited wealth at this point, where they could do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of them keeping that control over. Like, look, we've all heard the statement, the idea that hard times make hard men, and hard men make for easy times, and easy times make for, soft men. And then we're back in that cycle. It's the same sense where it's like, listen, you can make wealth. But like, look, when my dad made his own business and he raised 5 kids, we would shut down and go to Europe for 2 months in the year. As a machinist, that wasn't a thing that you could do, right? You had to have a little more knowledge, a little bit more, a discernment and drive to go those extra lengths. But you could do it. But then, as of like early mid 2000s, now it's, I invest in this weird thing that no one ever heard of, and suddenly I'm worth $1 million. And you're like, number one, you might be able to buy a place because you got $1 million, but no car, no parking spot.
Yeah.
So it's none of it makes any sense, right? And now it's just people are like, I have to be famous immediately. You're like, okay, go fuck yourself, whatever. Be famous. That doesn't make you happy. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, but that goes back to something that I've been thinking about for a long time here in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And which is why. Well, didn't we talk about this at the top of the show or before the show, which was the only reason I want to be famous? Yeah, Dino, you and I talked about this before. Didn't we?
Yeah.
Which is great. My only desire to be famous-er. In other words, I don't think there's an absolute.
Sure.
There's you don't just click over into fame. I think everyone's these days anyway kind of famous at some low level, and I'm just at that level myself. Maybe a little bit above in certain areas, but not really. But so the reason that everyone, whether you're in showbiz or not, you want your product to be famous. You want yourself to be famous. Yeah. I'm my product.
Yeah.
As an actor, as a comedian, as a writer, my writing is my product. As a film director, my films are my product. But still, it's kind of like the personality goes with it. Like with Quentin Tarantino, for example, who I spent a decent hour with at the Comedy Store this year, which was really cool. Nice. But we are the product these days.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't we want that kind of fame? So what is the proper word? It's not really fame. Fame is like I see someone walking down the red carpet, and the camera's going crazy. You can have your autograph and that kind of thing. But that's not, I don't want that. I've been to the Oscars. I've walked down a red carpet. I've signed autographs when I was on the road as a comedian in England. I've been interviewed. I have some great stories that people want to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
But I this fame thing doesn't frighten me. I don't think it really exists. I think, here's what I'm going to say. I think fame exists for untalented people. Whoa.
100% though.
Just ruined my
Atlas. Oh, no, Santa Claus included. No,
Santa Claus is very talented.
Been living off other people's scraps.
No. His agent is one of the elves.
Yeah, he's living off.
Bring my client. He only gets to work once a year.
Yeah, he's living off Coca-Cola and Heaton Snow Miser's coattails for.
How much you want to bet that if that was the scenario that like Santa would have a hit out on those polar bears? He's like, no, because Coke's my baby.
Santa is a mob boss.
100% of all of the holidays, Santa's the mob boss. Like he's in charge.
I know for a fact that the whole Elf on the Shelf thing was not a thing with your guys' generation, right?
No.
We would have tortured the elf.
Yeah, exactly.
Also,
and it wasn't a thing for me, but all of a sudden, like I'm seeing all these like memes or Katie, my fiance Steve, who's a kindergarten teacher, like Elf on the Shelf is.
Is that how you met?
What? Like teaching?
You're marrying a kindergarten teacher, so is that how you met? Meaning you were a kid and she's
no, stupid.
Stupid. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Although she did inspire me to become a teacher, so she's roped me into it.
Oh, that's a good thing. I wanted to be one. God bless her. Bless your marriage.
Thank you.
But we're talking. My point about the fame.
Yeah. Sorry.
You understand what I'm saying? Because this is so important to me. I want to get this right.
Okay.
Is that there's the way I see fame ever coming to me would be to benefit me business wise, give me more opportunities, and money, and creative opportunities and that kind of thing. And yes, there will be other things like I'd get to hang out with more, with more people that interest me that I couldn't have access to, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But people who think of fame generally think of it as some sort of narcissistic pretense that that someone wears sunglasses and they come out of a hotel and the paparazzi's shooting them, whether it's Billie Eilish, or Justin Bieber, they camped out at his house and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of is weird to me still.
For sure. Oh no, absolutely.
Am I do you understand what I'm saying? The difference
between the two? Well, that's the difference, is that if you are skilled at something, you will be famous. But people want to be famous. No. But I'm saying is that's how things used to be. If you were great, people would hear about you. You'd find eventually that would come through. But now you can just organize and tell the paparazzi that this person is leaving the hotel. Suddenly there are pictures of them leaving the hotel, and you're going, who cares? Why is that a matter?
But it doesn't happen to the real creative people like Robert Crumb, the great underground Zap comic, artist, cartoonist, that everyone loves, or some blues artist or some jazz artist, or the coolest comics, the ones that the comics.
Yeah.
They don't have that, and yet they should.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Because those are the interesting people. And to
add on top of that, the comics and actors and stuff that become famous from doing something that took a lot of effort, for the easy example is Bill Burr, right? Like early Bill Burr.
Hang on 1 second. There's someone at my door. Bill Burr. Keep talking. Right back.
Yeah.
I apologize.
All right. It's okay. So for early Bill Burr, he did all, he had all this talent. He, made his name. And then as time went on and he was awash in the amniotic fluid that is fame, he becomes more disconnected from the world around him. And that ability, that creative force drains away. And then you just become, I'm famous because I'm Bill Burr, not because I did this thing.
I don't know if that's for
Bill
Burr. No. Like there are other people.
I was just doing that as an example, but
it's the same thing. Like you just start drinking your own Kool-Aid, right? Like it's the same thing where The Rock, people were like, oh man, just going out there and doing his thing and everything. And now people are like, I think he thinks a little too highly of himself. This is insane, right? And now you're going, hey man, he's like, I'm
get more and more disconnected from the world around you.
I apologize. Bill Burr was the last thing you said.
Okay, sorry, it was a horrible example, Steven.
Shut up.
It's a perfect example because he's famous because us comics approved him first, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Or like musicians, right? Their first album's a banger. They have their sophomore slump, and then everyone after that is they either find a way to keep it, creative, because they do experimental things with whatever, or they become more and more poppy as time goes on. And they get more and more mainstream success, and then just the creativity is drained out of them.
Yeah, and that's the hard
part.
Like
Santa, no.
Santa's running on his last legs this time. No, it's why not Mrs. Santa? Why isn't she delivering everything? Okay.
Yeah, Elf on the Shelf. What kind of shit is that?
Why don't we see Mrs. Claus? On. Some interview show about how abusive Santa's been.
Absolutely, yeah.
But anyway, we're talking about fame and
I think
whatever we're talking about. I just, oh shit. Hello.
Yeah.
We didn't hear you. Yeah.
There I am. It's weird because I've been on both sides of it in heavy ways.
Yeah.
I've been a comedian for, on and off, which means I don't work every day. For 42 years coming up. It's going to be 43 next year. And then I've been producing shows and being talent coordinator for comedy festivals in Ireland. And then I produced and created my big shows at the London Palladium and got it on television, brought over Americans and put them mixed in with Brits and got it on television. And I love producing. So I've been on both sides of stuff. And I think that it's a weird paradigm. It's a weird paradigm when you're a comedian trying to promote yourself.
Yeah.
Or you're product, you automatically are in a deficit. You already are up to your neck in a hole of incredulity. You're promoting
True.
yourself. You think you're funny, and there's no one promoting you. And this, I think, is because unlike England, it's so much more. America is an advertising culture. So when you see that at the American Association of Retired Persons is supporting the Rolling Stones tour, that goes more to making AARP look more credible. It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
If I suddenly started doing comedy gigs sponsored by Coca-Cola, people would think I must be good for Coca-Cola to put that money into it.
Yeah, for sure.
As an unknown comic, and I have to restart myself. Now, some people, I've heard of you, but that rarely happens.
Yeah.
So I got to repitch myself. Hi, I'm Steven Allan Green, from LA, Comedy Store, blah blah blah. Comedy Central, Conan, blah 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 blah. So do you take? Okay, I'm gonna send you a link. Never hear from them, right?
Yeah.
But when I produced these shows, I had it just like overnight a reversal, where I had every single Hollywood agency and manager sending me tapes. This is how far back it goes. Calling me, emailing me, meeting me, shaking my hand. They wanted to get on this show. They want to get their client on my show.
Yeah.
And I dealt with all kinds of people that were their managers, and I dealt with the comics. And what I saw, for the most part, was professional and nice and kind and decent. But there were at least 6 examples in 1 year of production on one show where I saw ugliness from the comics. Few comics.
Yeah.
One comic on this show, 2 comics on that show, who bamboozled me, who pushed me, who gave me a hard time, who lied to me, who, it wasn't just Jerry Lewis, it was other comics.
Yeah.
And their managers. And I started to see, because the irony was that back in the 80s, although I was regular at the Comedy Store, at the Improv, there was a bit of a problem me getting in, and I was pushy.
Yeah.
Because I was a salesman, and because I thought being funny all the time meant, being funny all the time. I burnt bridges with some people. I told some agents, I hung up on some agents because they weren't fast enough. I was sort of a dick without realizing it. And then later, when I became the producer and I saw this kind of behavior, I understood. I have more empathy.
Yeah.
For people I'm trying to sell something to, and I've learned a lot. And I still, to this day, younger comics come to me, younger than me, come to me, and they want to know about England, and that's a whole discussion. It's an hour and a half just to talk culturally and business-wise, how to make it work and how I can help them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think it's just this thing, going back to this fame thing, which Santa's, I don't know how the hell he got it, but when he got that Coca-Cola deal in 1908 or whenever it was, Atlas, do you know when Santa signed with Coke?
Let's see.
Yeah. Like right around the World War I now.
Who owns the Santa? Is it a public domain?
I don't think so.
I assume so. I mean, there was a real Saint Nicholas.
Yeah, but yeah.
1931 was when Coke commissioned that image.
Really?
So who owned it? Who got the commission contract? Who did Santa belong to?
Okay, so
it's got to be Coke, but I don't think you can enforce it, right?
Coca-Cola commissioned illustrator Haddon Sundblom to paint Santa for Christmas advertisements. Those paintings established Santa as a warm, happy character with human features, including rosy cheeks, a white beard, twinkling eyes, and laughter lines. Sundblom drew inspiration from an 1822 poem by Clement Clark Moore titled "A Visit from St. Nicholas."
Was the night before Christmas?
Twas the night before Christmas, yeah. So,
right, but I mean, it still doesn't say how Coca-Cola, who they paid, if something's public domain. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's just it's the equivalent of like it's a religious figure, kind of, right? Like
paganistic.
Yeah, so
100%.
it's not there's nobody who owns the rights to like Zeus.
Well, like, what are you gonna do? If you enforce that contract, you're a dick, right?
I guess.
Well, what's
so.
to stop? What's to stop Fanta or Snapple from using Santa? Coca-Cola would have a contract over them and say, you can't use.
I
Santa.
guess so. Maybe it's that depiction of Santa, or like
maybe.
Yeah.
But rights are always very, very interesting.
I'm sorry. Right now, I'm just thinking of there should be a Santa Fanta, which is like a Christmas flavor of Fanta. And he's like, but he's also like, I'm Santa Fanta.
No,
he's gonna have like
Fanta
outrageous colors and polka dots and things like that.
Wanna, don't you wanna Santa Fanta? Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
And he'll talk funny, right? He'll be like, I am Santa Fanta.
Oh, right, because it was the Nazi soda, right?
Obviously. Right?
Yeah. Because like they lost the like.
Bro, if you try Fanta in Europe and then try and drink Fanta in the United States or Canada, you go, what in the hell did I just drink?
Oh, it's like European.
It's the corn
shit.
Oh, it's actually fantastic. Whereas here, you're like, oh, this is just poison.
Yeah.
I'm just
that's why I'm a big fan of the Mexican Cokes, where it's the glass bottle with the cane sugar.
Bro, anything in a glass bottle, you're like, immediately 10 times better, right?
The old Coca-Cola bottles in glass were green glass. I think it has something to do with, so when they're sitting outside the gas station, get in the sun in the desert, the green somehow keeps it from going bad or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
There's
like filters out whatever.
Yeah, same thing with beer.
Beer?
That's why beer bottles are dark too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so does Santa drink beer?
I feel like he'd be like 24/7, like eggnog or whiskey. Just that's it. Like he doesn't.
Oh, I forgot to tell you this, Dino. Okay, so on Christmas Eve, I went to Katie's parents' house, and her brother and his family came. I had asked the brother if he would make, because apparently he makes really good eggnog, but most of the family doesn't like it. So like me asking for it was a big deal. So he comes in with the eggnog, and I'm of the knowledge that the family doesn't like it for the most part. So I'm like, oh, giant pitcher. I had 3 glasses, and it was like those, the wine glasses that do this.
Yeah.
They're like really fat bottom, but no stem, just the glass.
Yeah.
I had 3 of those of eggnog, and that was like 3/4 of the pitcher. And now I'm the eggnog guy in Katie's family because I drank all the eggnog. Like that's the new running joke is the
hanging out with Santa the Fanta.
Yeah. Santa the Fanta. You got it. Yeah, that's
the episode title. It has to be. But yeah, so like my family hates eggnog too. I'm the only person who likes it.
I love eggnog.
Eggnog's great. It's like white people horchata. It's awesome.
Yes.
Tell me I'm wrong, Tino.
I can't.
By the way, I went to a Mexican, one of those food trucks, and got a burrito, and you can tell the joke's coming on. And I said, what do you have to drink? What do you offer to drink? And she said, we've got tamarind, jacinto, horchata. And I said, I'll have the chata. This is chata.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
got it.
Because
it looked like you had something else, and you're like, you were like leaning to get something off the floor or something. Like I didn't know.
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my phone.
Okay.
All right. Carry on with the interview or the discussion.
Nothing. I'm just the eggnog guy now because.
Okay, so Dino's the Santa Fanta guy. You're the eggnog guy. What am I? I don't have one of those things. What am I? Just give me a label. Give me a role.
The guy didn't ever stop. It's fantastic.
Yeah. London guy.
London guy.
Softballs to you. Should hit the home run over
Nigel. You're Nigel.
Nigel, yes. Yes, excuse me. No, you know where I got this from initially when I was in London and I had a little scooter, get around town,
Oh, yeah.
And it got stopped by the police and went, some Bobby, excuse me, sir, come on over here.
Yeah.
You were going too fast. What's wrong? Well, you failed to stop at the stop sign. Let me see your driving license. So I said, well, I have a California driver's license. And as soon as I did that, he let me go. because they don't want to deal with the paperwork.
Okay.
That happens the same in Greece. Whenever I go to Greece with my wife, I'm like, I can speak Greek and read and write speak, it's no problem. But I'm like, as soon as police pull me over, I'm like, hi, I'm Dino from Canada. What can I do for you? And they're just like, oh, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, is there an issue? Is there something I can help with? You know,
I'm telling you, it can get you out of trouble. You know, another thing, you know, like when I was in San Francisco, I was waiting for the bus and I flicked a joint or a cigarette into the street, and it was raining. And it went into the drain, and the cop pulls over and goes, "Hey, you know that cigarette ends up in my coffee in the morning, buddy." And you know, I didn't want to deal with it, so I said, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I don't know the rules of this country."
You know what? It'll work though.
That definitely works. I just love like you playing up the Canadianness, right? Where it's like, sorry, I've never been to Greece. I don't know.
This is my first time with the wife, and we're just going around.
English, I know. I tried to English what you saying. Oh. You know that one.
I'll do that here, where I'm like, I am sorry, I am Greek. I don't understand.
Yeah, good one. Exactly.
You must speak very sophisticated because the Greeks, we made the language. You understand? We cannot now with these weird words.
One of my favorite humans in the entire time I've been alive so far is this guy he wasn't from Greece, but I think he was from what's a nearby country that island country? But anyway,
Malta. Malta?
Cypriot?
Cypriot?
Malta?
Cypriot?
Cypriot.
Cypriot is definitely
Cyprus.
Yes,
He was from Cyprus, and he ran a really cool restaurant in London. I used to go to a lot, and he was very much he'd come by. Everything good? You enjoy your dinners? And if someone complained and said, so this lamb is a little bit undercooked. Could you please, heat it up a bit, or someone would say something really nasty, like, I don't really like this thing, and I'm never coming back. And then he would say, "You're welcome." All right, Atlas, come on, take charge here, man.
What can I say?
Let's play a video game.
Play a video game. What the fuck?
Let's do something.
Oh yeah.
Are you getting bored?
No, I'm having a great time. No, I'm bored. I'm never bored.
No, I mean, it just kind of goes where it goes. I mean, like, okay, so Elf on the Shelf wasn't really a thing.
I'm not complaining.
Until recently, for whatever reason. Like,
yes.
I'll see a lot of, like, especially because of the way our Big Brother devices work, where if Katie brings up something about the kids, I'll start seeing ads about it on my phone.
That freaks me out. Yeah.
But like, like I'm starting to see on my YouTube shorts or TikTok where it's jokes about like when the kids have woken up before you and you haven't moved the elf yet. I'm like, this is it's enough of a thing where there's memes about it.
There's memes about the memes.
Yeah. And like, I'm definitely not going to do it with my kids. My like Santa thing that my parents did, because this was like, when I was growing up, MapQuest was just starting to become a thing, right? And like the Google Maps and that sort of thing. So around that time, I forgot what the name of the website was, but you could look up where Santa was in the world.
Right.
On like Christmas Eve. So you look it up and there's a little tracker on a globe, and it's he's in Tangiers right now, or wherever the fuck. Like
absolutely ridiculous, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's cool. That like helps, keep the legend going. When the kids are like Katie's nephews are 6 and 8 right now, so we're still doing the Santa stuff.
Look, there's nothing wrong with giving children that idea of Santa and everything, right? Like even the way I was raised was like Santa is that's not a real thing. Like people just use it to keep control of their kids because their children are bad children. Why? Because they don't listen to God. That's it. It's very simple.
Yeah, but don't you think we're heading in this direction of getting to a child's truth as early as possible, like with the whole transgender controversy, where it's okay for a kid who's in grade school to think about this stuff. I'm not saying yes or no to it. I'm just saying that we're heading towards younger and younger realization for children. Is that a good thing in general?
Or it's just like more of a being comfortable of expressing those traits before they get stamped out of you. Like, I remember wanting to get my nails painted when I was a kid because my sister was doing it. And then I got made fun of at school and then I didn't do it anymore. And like, now it's less of a thing.
Yeah, no, we don't. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the thing is that what are we ultimately extinguishing in children when we foist reality on them? I mean,
any chance they have of being their own person.
Wonderment,
curiosity. No, because as soon as you burden them with your problems, they become your person.
Oh, I don't mean that.
Right?
I mean, although that does include. What I'm saying is the way that the way the world works.
Right.
Good night, little Timmy. Gee, Mommy, I hope Santa brings me a bicycle this Christmas. The kid knows he's going, I know you're Santa. Get Daddy to write the check. But the kid also believes it. And the mother would say, well, if you're a good boy, maybe Santa will bring it to you. So is that speaking in code? Is that the mother, or is it hurting the child's development to believe in fantasies? And I'll tell you something. My answer to my own question on that, just on its own level, and I really want to hear what you guys say, is that it helps when you become, because then when you become an adult and you want to start a business, that's a fantasy. When you want to write a novel, that's a fantasy. So it's about fantasy for children. Is that helpful in their imagination development, or is it harmful in their emotional acceptance of the reality of the world? Damn good question.
It's a damn good question indeed. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll tackle that one. In all honesty, I think that's a fine line between their development, right? Because the idea of knowing that the sky is the limit with their creativity is a pivotal point as a child, right? So the sooner that gets locked down, like wherever you max out in that world of creativity, and then you get hit with the world being a shithole that it is, right? That you're always going to be, that's going to be around your max. You may go a little higher, but in general, that's your max, right? So the more imaginative you allow someone to be in their youth without affecting them with real world dog shit problems, right? That limit is ever increasing. But the problem is, it's kind of like that mountaineer, the mountain hiker in like
please tell me you're not thinking of The Price is Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking The Price is Right. Where like, you don't know when their imagination goes so far they go over the edge, right? Like that's really that weird thing where you're going like, the more imaginative you allow someone to be in their youth, lets them know how far they can go. But at the same time, now you're at a risk of them just becoming some sort of yabo who has no idea what's up and down, right? Because let's be honest, that's a great place to live too. Like, don't get me wrong. You're like, yeah, I am outside of reality and I am not a real person anymore. Merry Christmas. Happy Easter.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of starts to begin to answer it. Atlas, what do you think about this?
So I think that piggybacking off Dino's thing, with like imagination being important, especially as a child, where you want to foster that, like whether it's bathing your children in the mythos of Santa, or it's just encouraging them to draw and come up with new things on their own. Like my mom was really good about like, this is really cool. I'm putting this either on the fridge or like on your bedroom wall or something. Even if I didn't think it was especially good. Like when I was 8, I got on this bender of drawing, like I called them mythical mixtures, where they were like chimeras of two different animals.
Sure.
And one that I did was shut up. One of them that I did was a griffin and a sphinx called the Grinks, and she still has that on her living room wall 20 plus years later. And I think that her doing that sort of thing and increasing the mountain climber imagination up to a point, right? Like the Santa thing, you don't keep it going when they're 15. You let it go until it's run its course around like 11, 12, 13 years of age, usually around the time people are going through puberty. But if you give children their ability to enjoy their imagination and to be themselves before their body catches on fire, along with the world smacking them in the face at the same time,
Wow.
It allows them to, have the tools to be self-assured in the real world.
This is my real question, and this is I want Steven for you to chime in on this. Was like that idea, like nobody wants their kid to be the smelly kid or the weirdo kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as an adult that you're like, listen, if they have a little bit of weirdo, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
right?
You need a little bit of weird.
You need a little bit of weirdo. You don't want them to be the weirdo kid because that kid has problems, right? But you're like, and that's the thing is you don't know. The only judge you have is how good of a parent you're being. So if you think you're being a good parent and you see them do weird shit, you're going, I think we're still okay. It's okay. But at some point you're going to go, hey, that's a lot weirder than I was. What the fuck are you doing, kid? Right? Like, and then maybe you're stomping them out, but you don't know what, like that's.
Well, you see, there's a dynamic there that's very interesting because my both my mother and father, who grew up in extreme poverty during the Depression in Brooklyn, pre-World War II, and then went to World War II. My father did. Once post-World War II, and these military support programs for housing, and my father had a great degree and got work out here. They wanted us. They always said they wanted us to have a better life than they did, financially and a safer neighborhood.
For sure.
Right. And so I think it always builds on the previous, or it rebels. It either rebels or it builds upon. It never seems to ignore. And I think even to this day, no matter how old you get, blowing out candles on a birthday cake is a wish. And the concept of wishing is magical thinking, or it actually has practical effects, like praying.
Yeah.
But wishing is on its own. It's separate. It seems to be washed of any religion. Just it seems to be, whether it's someone crawling in the desert for shelter, food, water, or whether it's someone hoping to fall in love in the next 2 weeks or get a better job or something. It's a hope, it's a dream, and I think it's healthy. I guess what I was going to say was before. I just remembered this. Put a button on it for me. It's one of the things I loved about England. I still do. Is that in general they cherish childhood there.
Yeah.
They realize that keeping children safe and keeping them educated and keeping a certain amount of fantasy in the culture and fun and sense of humor and sense of history, sense of survival makes all for the better when that person becomes an adult. And, America is a traumatized country. I grew up every single morning, right before the Pledge of Allegiance, we'd have to do drills to hide under a desk for earthquakes or nuclear war.
Yeah.
This was every day. You're taught and reinforced that Russia may bomb America at any point, and we'd only get about a 30-second warning.
Yeah.
Every single morning. And I'm not saying, those were tough times. I'm just saying it made us.
Yeah, it's a different perspective.
It did something to us that made us maybe live in the moment. Maybe that's why the 60s was so vibrant, and aside from everything going from black and white television to color, from mono to stereo, from Earthbound to moon landing, aside from all that, was this sense that we may die at any minute. And the only thing that's come close to it was recent COVID. But I think ultimately, fantasy is important for children and adults. I think the only question is whether you recognize it as fantasy or not. And I think finally, is that the difference between the two, recognizing if it's fantasy or not, I think is the beginning of a lot of mental illness in this country.
Oh, 100%. That's it. And that gets down to the real fact of like, hey, you do need to figure this out with your kid, because the right time will be the right time, right? You'll know it with your child, but also don't going around stamping on other people's imagination. You don't know how far they'll go, so don't screw with them, you bastards.
Yeah, they could be Moana. You don't want to.
Yeah, you don't know.
No, you don't know. And
she doesn't know how far she'll go.
And going back, we've heard Going back to the original subject about Santa, does Santa? I'm just asking you directly here.
Yeah.
Does Santa represent the tooth fairy, basically, the genie in the bottle,
like a super, like radioactive?
Well, no, it's
fairy,
like
right?
a kid wants something. Whether when I was a kid,
Sure.
you know what I wanted? This is going to be violins. But I, as a kid, asked Santa for my parents to stop fighting and live together. That was my dream. That was
100%.
my wish to Santa. Okay.
Yeah.
And he shows up with a bottle of whiskey and takes a swig and goes, "You think Mrs. Claus is easy?" But
see, I had the opposite problem where my parents divorced after that. So they were just splitting up, and I couldn't even be like, "Santa, can you please?" I'm like, "Nope, this just fucking sucks. I'm going through puberty."
Yeah, deal with it. I'm out of here. I'll be down at the bar. But does Santa represent giving us something that we should be working for, or that is it a good thing to ask for help from a magical being? Is that a good thing? If there is a magical being, if there is praying for good luck, if there is hoping for something that you want, is that a good thing?
Definitely.
It can be like it's not quite a yes or no to me. Like,
but nothing is, right? Yeah. It's the whole idea that if you never even voice it into the universe, it never has a shot at ever taking root. If you always keep it to yourself and keep it hidden, it just dies with your imagination, right?
That's profound. No, that's really profound. Yeah.
Look at me. The Greeks with the philosophy to this day, people. To this day, we will lead you into the crazy place.
You're welcome.
This is welcome. Probably the most philosophical episode we've done in a while.
All right, you want to do some dick jokes? You want to do some dick jokes? I got some good jokes. You want a comedy joke? I got comedy jokes. No, go on.
I was just going to say, Steven Allan Green, thank you so much for coming on Generation Dan.
Thank you. This is fun. You guys are great. You guys are a great team. You don't overdo it. You don't overtalk each other. And I've had a great time. Thank you so much. I want to come back. When can I come back again? When are you doing stand-up again? And Atlas, you're going to be our guest on Comedy Dish.
Fuck yeah.
I'm just going to the website. Is it January 7th?
Yeah. It's January 3rd. Yeah.
3rd. And also, I sent you a link just now for my novel in progress. I've got 2 chapters.
I posted it in the comments.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Myth Council Handbook, because Santa is a main character in it. We were talking about it.
Nice.
I'm finishing it. It's not available yet, but people can read it. It's kind of fun.
Nice. And it'll be it'll all be in the show notes for people listening to or watching this.
And when are you doing a comedy gig again, Atlas?
My next one is January. Sorry, it's February 10th. Originally, it was supposed to be in January, and then got postponed.
Where is that?
At Dow Comedy Studio.
Okay, and Dino, you're up in Toronto.
I am.
Do you do stand up? I forgot if we.
I do stand up. I've been doing more and more lately, so just a few here and there. If you check out Dino the Genetic Marvel on Instagram, I post everything there. Yeah. And then, it's mostly been I've been just doing shows, and today, a little later, I'm doing a cooking show. It's going to be an amazing day. It's
Hammered and Cheese. It's called for people.
Hammered and Cheese. It is
Atlas, what a blessing to have met you, and Dino, I hope to meet you one day. Thank you so much, and I've had so much fun. And what do we do now?
At Atlas Novak on all the stuffs, and then my other podcast, Nexus at Night, which is about a trading card game called Vanguard. If you don't like it, I completely understand.
And Steven, if they click that link that you posted, they'll take you to your website, right?
That'll take them to the Myth Council Handbook, and then they can just click the About page, and
nice,
cool. All right.
Anyway, have a happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Boxing Day, and drive safely.
Night, everyone.
Good night.